Welcome to Truck Tech. I'm Thomas Wasson. It is 2025. You're used to seeing Alan Adler. This is the first Truck Tech with our new host, which happens to be me, and super excited to be welcoming on our first guest. And I know January's kind of gotten a little bit of a head start, but in the autonomous trucking space, it has actually taken off and gotten a lot more busy. So let's just dive right in here. We're going to be welcoming on Dr. Peter Vaughan Schmidt. He's the CEO of Torc Robotics. They're a subsidiary of Daimler Truck AG. And Dr. Schmidt, do you prefer Peter, Dr. Schmidt? Tell us about yourself.
Oh, definitely, Peter. I'm living in the country now long enough, and worked globally all my life. I was even born in Canada, so yeah, Peter is definitely the right thing to do. To use the right name to use.
And it's
CEO of Torc Robotics. Torc Robotics is an autonomous trucking company. We have this year our 20-year anniversary. And I think that's pretty unique in the space. The roots go all back to the DARPA Urban Challenges, which was like the initial spark for a lot of autonomy you see today. Went a very different path than many other companies, monetizing autonomy in the military space, in the defense space, in the mining space for many years. And then 2019 was the Daimler acquisition, pivoting still to really big things, but trucks, Class 8 trucks, with a focus here on US and Class 8 trucking. And that's our mission. Get it done.
Catch up too, for sure, because you've been busy. I looked it up here and doing my research. October of last year was a very big deal. It was one of the first times you performed a successful fully autonomous product validation. Tell us a little about that, because a lot of folks, and I'm looking back at Alan's reporting since even 2021, it felt like there's been a lot of testing, but this is the first time I'm starting to hear across other companies about the validation portion.
Yeah, you're spot on. There are different phases in a typical product development and building a business. You have the R&D phase, where you just experience the technology, what can be done. And you have the advanced engineering phase. This really helps you to understand what's all needed to solve the problem, in our case, to remove the driver from the truck and have a real self-driving asset. So this phase was completed about a year ago. And Alan Adler and many others had the opportunity to drive in our prototype trucks and having great demos down in Albuquerque. And the trucks were just, they were performing mind-blowing. They could do traffic lights, intersection, industrial zones, interstates with dense urban traffic, interstates in the loneliness of the desert, all climates, strong winds, all of this. But it was prototype trucks that helped us inform what's really needed for productization. When I mean prototype trucks, there were no redundancy in, the chassis were hacked, all by wire. It's prototype sensors. They do not have the final reach. They might have some field of view problems. The compute was a typical x86 prototype compute, which every robotics company uses in the beginning. But all of this is not really a automotive grade product, which is there to survive 1 million miles, which is designed into cost points, and which is really at the final specs that you needed. And then the big moment was from this, develop this final spec and then make a complete switch to production intent so that we can build a scalable, profitable product that the fleets will just love. Yeah? It meets the cost point in terms of one-time cost, in terms of running cost. It will be reliable. It will be safe, of course, and easy to use. And that's what we are right now doing. And the first time that we brought all components together, really from the rubber to the roof, so redundant chassis, all final components, C-sample quality from the final suppliers, our own middleware and operating system in between, all final sensors from final suppliers at target cost in all the final specs with the final compute and everything. And then, of course, the final end-to-end AI software. We put it together first time. And then the real proof is, can you, and if it's only close course, but can you really remove the driver from the cabin? And this moment was mind-blowing. It was really, we were working so hard for this special moment. And then you see the safety conductor leaving the truck. You see the safety driver leaving the truck. Both go in the chase car, send the mission. The truck does a health check. 45 seconds later, accepts the mission, and then whoosh, takes off. And then it was a closed course, so it was a test track down in Uvalde in Texas, and you're standing there, and it feels like I don't know, sending a spaceship to the Mars or something like this. The first time the rocket takes off, and you're there, and then you just see it taking off. We were running different speed profiles, so it took roughly 20 minutes until the truck really came back where we were standing, and then you keep fingers crossed, and it comes back in one piece, has hit nothing, comes back again, hour over hour over hour, same thing next day. And even in much more complicated situations than we thought, there was a big solar storm, so GPS wasn't working. There were butterflies all over, so the sensors got covered pretty quickly. So it was a really, really good test. And for us, it was really the proof that we have the engineering rigor, that we really have the hardening in everything, in the hardware, in the software, but also in the release, that we can remove it. That was the last piece. It was training all muscles, not only the hardware and the software, but also how to release such a product. Yeah? So that everyone, also our safety people, our cyber people, all felt comfortable it's the right thing to do. Still protected environment with a closed course, but that, hey man, that was a spectacular day.
I've been telling people it's almost like a Wright brothers moment for a lot. Every time I'm reading these releases with validation, it's like you're finally, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, it finally flew. Now, it's gone off of the ground a few times, but we're a first sustained flight. Would you say that that was one of the challenges, I guess, was like validating the hardware? Because one thing I've noticed as well was that it's a lot of talk has been making sure from other providers that you have to have automotive grade hardware and suppliers. That's something that being part of Daimler kind of gives you a competitive edge compared to others who are looking for partnerships, I guess.
Yeah, but first you were mentioning Kitty Hawk. I don't know. Have you been down there? Normally we call our prototype trucks after mountains, and this truck was called Kitty Hawk. So you can read our minds, yeah, for exactly the same reason, because it felt like this moment. So it was the Kitty Hawk truck that did the first driver out release, product release on our end. Yeah, the automotive grade sensors are super, and compute and everything. Redundancy is super important. Why? That's the only way how you can meet target cost and how you can get something really reliable that is within spec over the full lifetime and survives the full lifetime. And a truck life is a rough life. Yeah? It's long, it's 1 million miles. And while prototype components might work great for 10,000 miles, we need to design something which is super reliable in the long run. Automotive grade components are also designed to be assembled in plants. And here now, I think we have a really unfair advantage with our tight integration with Daimler Trucks, so that we can integrate everything from the rubber to the roof. Let's say the obvious things like aerodynamics and energy usage and all of this, energy consumption, sorry. But also everyone does where it's best at. So for example, we design the entire software and we define what kind of sensors do we need and where should they be. And then we throw it a little bit over the fence, and then Daimler kicks in, and then Daimler really does the purchasing, does the supply chain, works with the supplier to make this automotive grade. And I mean, this is just driving costs down like hell. I mean, we negotiated prices, and then Daimler came in with the purchasing power, and so that's why I'm pretty sure we have a super attractive package in there. But even more importantly, they are also designing all of this so that you have sub-assemblies and it can be really factory built. Because that's also a very important piece. If you put the truck together, autonomous ready, before you put the software on, if it comes from an assembly line, nothing can beat the cost position. But most importantly, nothing can beat this quality and this reliability. And our partner, Freightliner, Daimler Trucks North America, they are designing it that it really fits into a typical assembly plant with a 4-minute takt time. This is amazing, and I think a unique advantage that we have.
Wow, I mean that's the thing.
Speaking of unique advantage, and sorry for interrupting, there comes a second unique unfair advantage that it's built in. We are building a super reliable, robust product that can do the mission from A to B in almost all weather conditions or all conditions, and it can do it over and over and over again. However, parts break. It's a reality. They break today on conventional driven trucks. They also will break on autonomous trucks. So that's why now that we are working through the productization, commercialization phase, it's super important on the one hand side that we can make an unplanned downtime to a planned downtime. And here also the close connection with Daimler Health, so that we can predict a component will fail, say within the next 1,000 miles. So you're not stranded somewhere, but you can make it a planned event. And then, of course, Daimler Trucks and their partners, they have by far the most dense service stations network across the entire nation. And this is an unfair advantage because parts will break, and then you want the trucks as fast as possible back on the road. And the next unfair advantage we have, we will build a lot of components automotive grade that all the dealers have in stock anyway, that they know anyway. And that also makes then the repairs much easier.
Yeah, no, I think I like the predictive analytics. That was one problem I had that I've recently been learning about more is PM intervals, inspections, especially depending upon how the asset is used. Like the technology now, you can predict when the parts are going to fail and actually have customized PM interval schedules. You can cycle through instead of just waiting a blanket every 6 months. I'm going to look at it. Like you don't always have to perform stuff. I wanted to kind of dive into. Let's talk about your plans into 2025. There was recent strategy you all released talking about not only you're opening the Dallas Fort Worth autonomous hub, but you're also switching over some stuff into Michigan. Tell us about the plans into 2025 because I feel like it's almost like a race to commercialization. I hear 2025 and 2027 across the wire right now.
Yeah, our date is more like 27, where we are targeting against. The why is quite simple. We thought we have a super stable anchor investor with Daimler Trucks, but it also means we have limited funds. So I think we're just in a sweet spot that we have a really big team that can solve it, but it's still a small team compared to some of the really big players and a small burn. Overall, a really, really good thing to be, let's say, to be bootstrapped, because all the cash burn rate you have today, in the end, will define what's your mileage fee that you later on need to ask to recover all of this and to keep and push your company into the profitable zone. So it's a really good one. But that's why we also made a decision. Let's really target one thing, a scalable, profitable product from which on we can build a profitable company, a profitable business, and really benefit the industry. Because that's in the end, a fleet is not really interested in a cool demo where I can remove a driver on an incredible expensive truck, more or less in a one-off, which might be partially reliable. So we said, okay, that's not our race. Our race is really to be the first for profitable, scalable product. And this date is 27. It's not now, for us at least. And that's what we are working against. Yeah, and a lot of things happen on this path now to productization, commercialization. On the one hand side, it also became pretty clear. Now also with the new administration coming in, I think regulation might be favorable. This economy is just so incredibly strong. There's a strong push for AI. I love this country here. Things happen here, and we decided, hey, let's put Europe a little bit more on let's say, shift a little bit out and really double down in the US. So that's why we are closing down our Stuttgart office and shifting the 150, 200 jobs to Michigan and Ann Arbor, where we already have our biggest remote workforce. And Ann Arbor for us is a fantastic spot because you have all the AI ML talent, but you also have the traditional automotive talent. Yeah. So we will find people that can do motion control. We can find people that can write crazy algorithms. So that's why we go to Ann Arbor and do this as an addition to our existing networks. And the bigger shift, maybe emotionally even, was shifting Albuquerque, where we had our R&D and advanced engineering fleet, to Dallas. And that comes with this phase of productization and commercialization. So our first launch lane will be Dallas to Laredo. I mean, Dallas, it feels to me like the capital of freight. And I don't want to talk negative about other areas, but it's just so amazing how it's growing, the Fort Worth area, the Alliance area, what's going on there. So we really wanted to be in this area for commercial launch. the I-35 down to Mexico, but also other interstates from Dallas. These are really dense freight lanes where you can have a lot of business, where also a lot of infrastructure is new, it's good to reach. So a lot of hubs, warehouses, distribution centers in the industrial zones are really good to reach. And that's why we moved Albuquerque into Dallas.
We won't tell Chicago. They like to say they're the freight capital, but well, Dallas, Chicago.
Yeah, okay. They're also the freight capital, but I have a little bit much snow and ice. And let's say for our first product generation, we prefer to be in the Sun Belt, and we would of course love to go to Chicago with our second product generation.
Well, I'm from Chattanooga, so I love the Sun Belt as well. We got recent snow, and we only get 2 days a year. So not only are our drivers not able to handle it, but I wouldn't want to try to make anyone go up and deal with what Chicago deals with. But I like the lane. Dallas to Laredo is, I remember from my operations days, you could run an entire fleet from Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Laredo and just stay intra-Texas and continue to be profitable. I did some density analysis. When you're looking at Dallas and Laredo and the plans, is the current plan eventually going to be kind of like truck ports? I hear a lot with autonomous trucks where you're dropping it off at a truck port or a terminal. Or what are you thinking of using the assets for, like partnering up with a fleet? Or is it still in the early stages, open the facility and then work on the next steps?
Yeah, really good question, and let me add some flavor to it. So our Dallas hub for us, on the one side, that's just our hub where we operate our testing fleet out of, and you just need some place where you can park trucks, maintain them, repair them, put new hardware on it, or flush the trucks. But that's the one purpose. The other purpose, we want to make this like a sandbox really for operations. And we will sandbox a small hub, a medium-sized hub, and a large hub, so that we can also speak with customers that operate distribution centers, whatever fits best your distribution center. You have 10 trucks leaving a week, or 100, or even more. So what's the best retrofit for your hub? And it should be minimal. So we will have a minimal cost retrofit kit that makes your distribution center autonomous ready. And this will be mainly, let's say, a departure launch pad and some things that we need at the gate, and maybe here and there to put software on a truck. And that's it more or less. And for us, that will be a great sandbox to work on this retrofit tool for infrastructure, so to say, but also really work through the processes. Because what is super important, if you save something because you drive, you can do the journey driverless. You don't want to lose it in operations again. There's a departure check and there's an arrival check, and all of the things. These are inefficiencies that you are also adding, also new jobs. But it should be a net positive, and that's why we also want to work on it. So how can we get a departure check from 20 minutes to 50 minutes to 10 minutes to 9 minutes to 8.5, and all the things? How can we support it with technology if it's a bigger hub? This will be the things that we will do between now and 27 in Dallas. And that's also super exciting stuff. I have a manufacturing background, and I'm coming from the trucking industry, and I find this as interesting as writing this fancy code, end-to-end AI things. But you need it all. And that's also the beauty, but I think also the difficult thing if you really want to build a business, not only just a fancy tech that can drive driverless, but really building out the entire business, including operations and maintenance and cost points, and reliability and safety. And that's why we're using Dallas. Sorry, that was really long-winded. And our technology is built to really run. We call it hub to hub, but what we really mean it's a warehouse to warehouse, really point to point in at least 80% of the cases. And this airport-style transfer hub, we only foresee for certain areas where either it's just one truck per week in that warehouse, so it doesn't really make sense to unlock it, drive it manually from A to somewhere where we have more turnover, or it's just a warehouse that you per definition can't reach because it's so super complicated that only the best manual drivers can get there. So we would connect easy to reach warehouses with easy to reach warehouses that have enough turn, and we would assume that's at least 80%. And then maybe on one end you need to add a transfer hub, and worst case on both ends. But we do not want to create extra inefficiencies. So you really want to run point to point. You don't want to break a process which is not broken today.
That's what I was curious about. One of the things I've been talking with people is how will autonomous fit in the scheme? So one of the goals for testing in through 2027 is, can we not have to do a truck point? Can I have the autonomous truck go into the warehouse, get the trailer, and then go immediately to the next warehouse and be able to deliver it, versus I need a driver to pick it up. I'm going to haul it to the truck port. The autonomous truck can back into it, and then the autonomous truck goes to another truck port.
Yeah, it's definitely the first model where we want to put the majority of the volume into, and that is also informing the requirements to our product. So when product management and product engineering were sitting together and said, okay, these are the capabilities that we need so that we can perform this. Let's say hub to hub might be a little easier, transfer hub to transfer hub, this broken model. But I don't think it's a super attractive model, and we are developing our software, our redundancies, our sensors, everything towards the first model you were mentioning.
I do have to ask because I did talk with a yard dog autonomous company, and they have a claw to hook up airlines. They were like, well, we want to be able to move trailers in the warehouse yard operations. So they designed a robotic, very tactile claw-like arm to screw in airlines. Is that one of the challenges you all hope to look into, as well as now that you're able to partner with some of these large warehouses in Dallas, kind of answer some of those questions like, I can get it here, but how do I back in? How do I connect? What does that look like? And then go from there. Are you going to make a claw?
Yeah, a lot of these operators of these warehouses say, Torc, your autonomous trailer should enter through this gate and drive exactly to this spot and then stop the mission. We will unhook the trailer. Then it should turn around. It picks up the trailer and it leaves our facility again, and we do the rest. And some of the really big players do this already today to really keep drivers going and keep the really expensive asset, which is the tractor, not a trailer, running round the clock. So, and that's how you build it, I think, the most efficient logistics. And I think this part might also be the first part that really uses autonomy. So I think in a lot of cases, the yard topic will be really more solved by this 1 or 2 yard operators that manage the warehouses and pull the trailers to the docks and things like that.
That's the most exciting stuff, is just the nuts and bolts and that nitty gritty. And let's look at regulations as well while you have a little bit of time left, because I remember I was reporting on Aurora is suing the FMCSA over roadside devices, little triangular cones in the event of a roadside event. The regulations have drivers. You got to get 10 minutes to get out there. When we're looking at those aspects on the regulatory challenge, what are you looking ahead? Do you think 2025 this year is going to make things a little bit easier, or is there anything kind of on your wish list that over the next 2 years is like, okay, we need to get this checked off, and see if the FMCSA rules on it before we can be fully deployed on highways?
I think but I think the entire autonomous trucking or autonomous industry would really like to see is a national or a federal framework. And there's quite some optimism that the incoming administration will put something out there, say in 18 months from now. Right or wrong, we will see. But I have the impression that there's a lot of ambition to push forward technology, AI, autonomous. And I think it would be a really great one for everyone in the industry to have a federal regulation framework. And then let's wait and see what the new organization or administration will do with the warning triangles. Maybe they see it differently than the former administration. This won't be a showstopper. There are also other solutions to this topic. I mean, the easiest was what was proposed, and I think also the safest. A lot of studies that say it's pretty safe to do it like it was proposed. That's something that we will observe closely.
And looking
pretty optimistic overall what regulation is concerned. And I think it's also good for our nation. In the end, there's a strong competition between US and China when it comes to technology. I think autonomous driving, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the keynote speak of Jensen at CES from NVIDIA, and he more or less said, we are now entering the age of physical AI, and a lot of physical AI will be about self-driving and about humanoid robots. And I think here is a strong competition going on between this strong nation, US, and China, and unfortunately Europe falling a little bit behind. And if you take this competition serious, I'm pretty sure that the framework, the environment will be very positive for technology.
Do you hear any rumblings? I know some companies have tried to deploy autonomous in China. Is there something where it's like a space race right now? Is China a little more developing similar things in tandem? Or is this something where like we also need to pay attention to the Chinese market? Because what if China says we don't need cones, and then next thing you know, you see a bunch of autonomous trucks going along in Shenzhen or something? Is that something to pay attention to as well, or is North America kind of the hotbed of innovation right now in terms of the space?
Oh, I think it's a race head to head, and regulation in China is supportive. You have some really great companies there that work in the robotaxi space. I also saw some spectacular things going on in the trucking field. So it's really a race between US and China, a technology race in the end. But I think we are super well positioned. We as a nation, Torc as a company, we are super well positioned to win this race and have something really world class out there.
Would there be a Sputnik moment? I do have. I recently read about the Permian Basin. One of the autonomous companies, Kodiak, recently showcased a customer doing it in the Permian Basin in the oil fields, which has different regulations, of course, on private land. But would there be like leading into 2027? What would be kind of like that Sputnik moment in terms of the autonomous race? Would it come from someone actually deploying it commercially in the U.S., or would it come from maybe China says, "Hey, by the way, we've just figured this out. Check us out." What are you looking at on your radar, or is it something where more of like slow and steady, continuously build and innovate? Because being the first mover doesn't always mean you're gonna be the first winner.
I really hope that this Sputnik moment, and we should more a spaceship moment or something like this, will happen here in US, and this is also where I will concentrate on. We are again we defined our race as we want to be the first with a scalable, profitable product. So we designed our product into cost targets, into reliability targets, into safety targets, and that's the only thing that matters for us, because we think only from that we can build a scalable, profitable business and a profitable company, and also doing great things for our customers, the fleets, so that they can do their business better. And better would mean the goods arrive safe, the goods arrive maybe earlier and at lower cost. And in the end, it's also a good thing for society because it will dampen inflation. So that's our race, it's our mission. You might call it coming second if someone does a spectacular public road demo before. But we are not getting nervous. I think no one is better positioned to have a really scalable product out there than us.
That was one thing I've catching up on Alan's writing. A lot of these early startups were turned into SPACs. They used, try to go raise a lot of money, raise a lot of cash, brings a lot of investment, like making a deal with the devil is what my last founder told me. So yeah, currently, do you think anything? Last question here as well. I know I'm throwing a lot at you. Do you think into 2025 that maybe that's one of the big pushes? Is a lot of these other autonomous companies they got the monkey on their back right now in terms of funding, so they have to kind of go to market and don't have that luxury of taking a very sustainable and measured approach?
I mean, first of all, some of our competitors are doing really great stuff, and I keep the fingers crossed that they are successful. But I think we as an industry, we need success stories. We need building confidence that the technology can work, building confidence that the technology is safe. And wherever it takes place, on public roads, in mines, on closed course, I think all good news that shows this technology is moving on, and we are spot on, or we are ahead with the Chinese competition is a good one, and it will also help our mission of launching a scalable, profitable, and safe product. So yeah, I expect a lot of good things happening in 25, and we will also have some really good things to show off. Stay tuned.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much for your time, Peter. Appreciate you as well answering all my questions. I know there's a lot of stuff to play catch up on, especially we've started a brand new year, but I'm super excited to see what y'all are working on. If folks want to learn more, get in touch, see what Torc is up to. What's the best way to find out?
You can find us on the internet, on social media. So across the board, we are pushing out, I think, a lot of content. And then, of course, you can also work for us. You can apply. We have dozens, if not hundreds of job open, a lot of job openings up in Ann Arbor. And yeah, some of you might also be able to do ride-alongs in the second half of this year. And hopefully some of you will use our technology and use the product and enjoy the benefits from it. This will be exciting.
Very exciting stuff indeed. Peter, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to catch up with you again soon. I know y'all are cooking up a lot of stuff and looking forward to seeing your future developments.
Yeah, same here. Thanks all for the opportunity to speaking to your audience.
That's going to be a wrap for today's episode. If you're just joining us, this will be on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're going to find Truck Tech. You can Google Truck Tech, and while you're at it, look at the newsletter. I'll be writing about developments in the truck technology space, including autonomous EV, natural gas. I tell people if it's technology and attached to a truck, I'm going to call dibs on it. I know Grace Sharkey likes the technology that's not attached to a truck, but trucks are more fun. So it's been a wrap. Thank you all so much for listening to this first episode. Don't worry, though, we'll be right back with more episodes, and we'll see you soon.